Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coffee and Content. My name's John Lacey. Thank you so much for being here. I must admit, I know Saeed is lurking in the audience, but for the life of me, okay, I've disabled something accidentally. So I'm just going to turn that back on, and hopefully I can see his comments. Because the really weird thing about this right now is that, there we go, I can see them now. I couldn't see your comments, Saeed, but I was actually seeing the Restream chatbot relaying them, which was kind of weird, but hopefully we'll be okay now. And again, he says, congratulations on 650 subs. And first of all, thank you. I don't know when exactly that happened. I think it was just this morning, but it's kind of crazy. I'm sort of amazed that anybody wants to hang out with me at any time. But anyway, that's okay. All right, so this is Coffee and Content, and I'm going to level with you. The reason I'm here today is simply because I've done a weekly live stream for over 2 years at this point in time, and a part of me really wanted to just be like, I wanted to take a few weeks off because I was just tired, and then I thought, I actually don't want to break this this thread. So I decided to go live today, and I just want to talk a little bit about next year, about starting afresh, about seeing what we can do in the new year, and maybe letting go of some old things and sort of starting again. So I don't know if Saeed's still lurking out there, but if you can send me another comment, I just want to make sure that the Ninja Chat is actually working now. That would be really awesome. But this is Coffee and Content, and it is Sunday morning here in Australia. So I'm going to take a quick sip of coffee, and then we'll talk about a few things. Okay, thank you, Saeed. I can definitely see your comments now, which is awesome. I don't know what it is, but I swear every time I get on camera, my eye starts watering or my nose starts itching, and I'm just resisting the urge to sort of scratch my nose so badly right now. But I'll try and resist that. But anyway, let's talk about next year, because 2024 has been yes, and the bot has replied to you. So I guess that's the other thing. A while ago, and I keep forgetting that I even did this, but I actually set up some chat commands on a user-by-user basis for some of our regulars to welcome you into the chat. And sometimes they'll say things like, "Hi, thanks for joining us," and sometimes they will say other things, but that's definitely in there. And hello to Ludwig. I'm not really sure how I'm going to pronounce any of that, but thank you for being here. Appreciate company. Let's talk about this year. So 2024 has been a really long year. I know a lot of people are saying it's gone so quickly, and if that was your experience, I'm really happy for you. This year has kind of dragged on for me a little bit, and I'm kind of a person who is a bit of a creature of habits, and sometimes those habits can work really, really well for me, and other times I really can get stuck in a rut really, really easily. So I have to be a little bit mindful of that. We did, it was the second year of doing the video and live streaming show with Sam Proof. I absolutely loved most of that. We have put the show on hold because of some technical issues that we just can't seem to overcome. And I think it's really just a connection speed upload limit type of thing. And I'm already kind of missing the collaboration of that. But he's still going to do his own thing. I'm going to do my own thing. Hopefully we're going to find some other ways to collaborate. I'm going to go to a promo, which I wasn't really expecting to play right now, but I just really need to scratch my nose. I'm just going to level with you. I'll be back right after this. Hi, I'm John Lacey, and in Build a Presentation Muscle, I want to talk about finding your voice, refining and sharing your message, using tools and technology to share that message, and looking after yourself as a creator. And that's a promo for my podcast, Build a Presentation Muscle, which you can learn about more over at johnlacey.com. Thank you for indulging me there. So it is one of those things that I guess I'm very conscious right now of the differences between a co-hosted show and a solo show, because I will be doing some solo stuff next year. And I don't mind doing solo stuff, but it is one of those things that sometimes you do need to throw to something else. You do need to throw to another person. And that's really difficult when you're just solo. So I need to think about that a little bit. But I am looking to start 2 new shows in the new year. One is going to be Learn Live Streaming Live, which is sort of just an extension of all the things I'm already doing on my YouTube channel. So I'm really excited for that one. And the other one is OBS Obsessed. So I really want to dig deep into OBS because it is a little bit nerdy, but I love it. I'm totally here for it. So I really want to sort of dig into that in the new year quite deeply. And I think at the moment, I'm probably going to alternate them and do sort of, one show on what is essentially my Saturday morning. I realize it's sort of Friday for a lot of you in the other parts of the world. But yeah, essentially just alternate them week by week. I kind of toyed with the idea of doing, 2 shows a week. I just don't know if I've got the capacity to do that right now. So I might change my mind on that. I might actually do something more along those lines in the future. But right now I'm just looking to do 1 a week. And it's one of those things that I have been sort of building some assets for those shows, and I've got to go in and create my OBS scene collections for those and set up the Stream Deck buttons and do all the little flourishes and things that hopefully make the show more engaging. But again, then I just want to put my head down and focus on the content because I'm all about content. I know lots of people do a lot of social streaming and that's cool, but I really want to teach you something that you may not have known about. And the other things, I think I've mentioned previously, but I purchased the Affinity apps for Black Friday. I think it was Black Friday. Time is a blur. But essentially, I've just started using their publisher app to make some PDFs and to share those on LinkedIn. And I was actually surprised at how, even with my fairly modest audience, how people seem to enjoy that already. So I'm going to hopefully do a little bit more of that as well. But I am really curious, what are your goals for 2025? And I don't want to be too dogmatic or too inspirational about that because I think that's the danger. We can be super optimistic at this time of the year and we just over promise and over commit. And I think it's really important to take a step back and, just Said writes only 11 more months until Black Friday. Yes. Although I'm sure there'll be at least 11 different sales before then anyway. But yeah, so I'm really curious. So like I said, it's a good idea to maybe be mindful of what you can actually achieve and don't. And I guess this is something that I've mentioned previously, but I kind of have this theory about the world that there are 2 different types of people. And one type love the big, hairy, audacious goals. Like the bigger and grander it is, the more excited they become. And I'm not that person. I'm going to level with you. I'm definitely not that person. If it gets too big and elaborate in my head, I will just become so overwhelmed and I won't get started. So that's something to be very, very mindful of. So I'm curious, do you think you fit in one of those 2 camps? And hello to Ernesto, who's saying hello and happy Sunday. Sayed writes that he wants to create more recorded videos for YouTube and probably VOD courses and also going live from time to time. And I probably shouldn't call. Yes, I know it's Saturday in the US. Yes, I have some sense of how time zones work, but yes, thank you nonetheless. Anyway, happy Saturday to you, Ernesto. Hope it's going well for you. I was going to say something else, and I think it's sort of slipped my mind. Yes. I feel like Said said he was going to go live sometime this year, and I don't think it's quite happened yet. But I'll try and hold him accountable for that next year, if not. But that's okay. So anyway, today we're just really... This is kind of my low-key chat session on a Sunday. And I don't do these all the time, but I really wanted to do this one because, like I said earlier... I've been doing a weekly live stream for over 2 years at this point in time, and I was going to take a break. I really was. I was just burnt out and grumpy, and I thought, I don't want to do anything at all. I want to just vegetate in the air conditioning. And I did do a fair bit of that, if I'm being honest. And then at some point, my brain was like, I'm actually really, really bored. I need to go and do something fun. So, that's kind of why I'm planning. Anesto writes, I love learning, but now I need to implement and actually create. Yes. And I must admit, there are times when I am that person that just delays getting started, because I think if I watch another course or if I read another book, or I just need to know more. And at some point, you just need to get started. And you will get so much more feedback by trying things and seeing how they go than you will from sort of learning about them in a purely academic sense. So it's really important to do that. Sayed writes, I still got 3 days to go this year. I'm a procrastinator. Okay. So I mean, let me know if I'm awake at the time. I'd love to see you go live on your channel. I think you've done it maybe once or twice before, but I'd love to see it again. And I guess, you know, that's the other thing too. Like I like the live streaming, and particularly on YouTube, we are going out to all the various places. I think Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. I think that's probably it actually for the moment. So those are the places that we're going out live. If you are sort of lurking, feel free to say hi. If you just want to lurk, that's fine too. But it's always interesting to know who's out there. So that's essentially, you know, I think that's really important to think about what you can achieve. But I think also just getting started, because you will get that feedback. And I say feedback, it may be feedback from an audience. It may just be you trying stuff and going, okay, that thing worked really well, but that other thing just was a hot mess and I never want to do it again. And you'll learn things about what's comfortable for you as well. So I think, you know, I played a promo for my podcast earlier in this stream, and I haven't put out an episode of that podcast in a while. And to be really honest with you, it's because my experience of podcasting has been super lonely. Like, I never hear from anybody. Ironically, the only time I hear from people is either if I'm having a conversation with them and they mention something about the podcast, or if I sort of upload something to YouTube and occasionally I'll get comments there. So I do want to get back to that podcast. That podcast is really important to me, but I think I'm going to change how I do it, because I had been using some software called Hindenburg Pro 2, and I really like the software, but it's just not playing nicely with my new computer, and I don't know why. And I've sort of been in touch with their support, and they were like, arrange for a Zoom meeting, and I didn't have the energy all the time at that point in time, so I haven't really done anything with it. And I thought, I probably need to just do this directly to camera. I probably just need to make this kind of a video first experience and then strip out the audio and have that there, because I can do that. I have the little setup here at home. So I'm keen to get back into that, but I guess, and I don't want to, like, everywhere I look at the moment, audio podcasters are arguing against video, and I think that's such a waste of time for everybody involved. Like, seriously, just pick what you want to do and go and do the thing. You don't have to keep defending it. You don't have to do those things. Hello to Chocolate Quilts. I don't know why I'm your hero exactly, but thank you nonetheless. Ludwig writes, daily learning means growth regardless of age, gender, etc. Daily learning means growth. Okay, repeated that twice for some reason. I'm not really sure what that's about, but that's okay. There's learning by doing, and there's learning by research and watching, and I think that it's so good. But I think some of us are often waiting until we feel ready to get started, and the unfortunate thing is you'll never really feel ready. You just have to start feeling uncertain. And even this morning, I was really excited to come on live because I haven't done it in, 7 days. But there was a part of me that was still quite nervous to do that. And I actually haven't felt that nervousness in a while. I think it's probably just because, I'm doing it by myself at the moment. So don't forget to like and subscribe. In fact, I had a magical button for that there, but I think it's gone. Let me try this one. There we go. Like and subscribe. Oh dear. And Said says, you can't learn swimming by listening to a podcast about swimming. Well, not exclusively. And I think in some ways, if you're really passionate about something, you kind of want almost that 24/7 experience. So if you're not actually in the pool, maybe you're reading a book about swimming, maybe you're listening to a podcast about swimming, maybe you're watching videos about swimming. But it's a fair point. I think that you actually practicing these things is really super important. And especially if you're a little prone to perfectionism, especially if you're very self-conscious, which are both things that I struggle with quite a lot. And it's funny, I watched another live stream earlier this morning, and this is going to sound so petty, but it just made me feel so much better about myself. Because this person was really struggling, and and I'm not picking on them, but it was just interesting because I feel like I'm never good enough, like I never do enough. And the truth is, I've done this a lot, and I probably just need to be a little bit nicer to myself and just calm down. Hello to Jerry W. Writes, hey, John and everyone watching from the UK. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being here. So it would be good to know, where in the world you guys are watching and maybe even what platforms you're watching on. I know some of you, I can see in the Mix It Up chat box, so that tells me you're watching on YouTube or Twitch. And I guess this is I think this is an important point from Chocolate Quilts. So Chocolate Quilts writes, I am in the shallow end of the pool because of you, John. Thank you for encouraging me. So the thing is, we all start somewhere, and some things will come more naturally to some of us than others. And I'm such a nerd, and I've been a nerd since about the age of 7 with my Commodore 64, that the technology doesn't usually scare me. But there is something about interacting with other people and the judgment of other people that does concern me sometimes. I do have concerns about that. Okay, Said writes, it is about confidence and just doing the thing. I often think I could have done this better, but I don't do it. So, yeah, and I think in some ways, the thing that you produce, it's probably never going to live up to your expectations if you have high expectations to start with. But nobody can enjoy it if you don't share it. Nobody can learn from it if you don't share it. And I think it's really important that we sort of get over that. And I keep saying that, especially to people on LinkedIn, where Jerry is apparently watching. So hello, Jerry. So that's it's. I talk about my prescription for sort of getting comfortable on video, and in some ways, it's just recording yourself and watching yourself back, and both of those things can be really awkward at the beginning, and it is exposure therapy. That's all it is at the end of the day. And I wish I could give you some prescription that was like, if you hold your left hand behind your back, you will just feel instantly confident. But I mean, it doesn't work that way. And I don't want to, sell lies in the way that so many marketing people do. It's just terrible. But anyway, but I think it's a good moment to really sort of take a step back and think about what are you interested in exploring and doing next year, because it's an opportunity to start again. And I guess in some ways this is the theme of this week's show, because whether you're happy with what you did this year, 2024, whether you felt it could be improved, you have an opportunity to go again and start again. And Chocolate Quilts writes, I am live. I am a nerd and super shy. However, John, you never give up, so I'm trying out live and no more shy. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, so I guess, getting back to the thing, and I realize some of you probably didn't hear me say this earlier because you've just arrived, but I'm looking to create 2 new shows in 2025. One is Learn Live Streaming Live, which I'm going to probably need to practice saying out loud because that's a lot of L's. But I kind of want to use that one to talk about hardware and software to some extent, and just really see if people can, just bring people into my world a little bit, because I know I love OBS. I do a lot of OBS stuff. I really think it's awesome. I love to share that with a lot of people, but I know not everyone's really ready for that just yet. And I kind of still want, like, even if you're using other software, even if you're using other tools, I think there are other things that we can sort of bond over and learn together. So it is really, really awesome. Sade writes, ironically, thinking nobody but me cares about this helps me to just get my content out there. That's a really funny way of doing it because, you know, on the one hand, if you are scared about the judgment of other people, which I totally am at times, I'm just going to level with you. That can be encouraging. But equally, there are weeks when I put so much heart and love into things and, you know, they get 2 views. And I'm like, oh, why do I even do this? It's just going to drive me nuts. But anyway. Hello to Alec. Thanks for joining us. Okay. So, yes, getting back to the shows, though, for next year. Learn Live Streaming Live, which, again, is sort of generally about hardware and software and live streaming. And I want to focus a little bit more on that. But the other show is OBS Obsessed. And because I am a little obsessed with OBS Studio, and I feel like even though there's a lot of content out there for that, it's not really aimed at the kind of people that I speak to. Like, there's so much content about streaming your game, and you know, if you love playing games and streaming that's awesome. You've got all those resources, and that's really cool. But I kind of want to, I don't know, bring OBS to a different demographic. I really want to sort of encourage people who are business professionals or teachers or facilitators, you know, how they can do really cool stuff in this completely free software. So this is open source software, OBS Studio. It's available for Windows, Mac, and Linux, I believe. It's free and it can do so much. And I think, you know, the thing I love about it is this what they call the virtual camera feature, which is really, really cool. Basically, you set up your scene however you want. You know, in this case, it's just me, and I've removed a green screen and put in a solid color behind me. But there's nothing to stop you from, you know, adding all kinds of cool stuff, including, I don't know, like and subscribe animations or calls to actions, that kind of thing. And the great thing about the virtual camera is, even if you're not streaming, you can bring the output of this software into Microsoft Teams video calls, into Zoom calls, into almost, you know, any kind of software that can support the use of a web camera. And to me, that's kind of the untapped opportunity of OBS Studio, is that you can do that. You can record locally. You can make little tutorial videos, you can do screen sharing, you can do all this amazing stuff. And I think the thing about OBS is that it is this rocket ship. It is really so incredibly powerful that it kind of makes people nervous because they don't need to know about everything. And to be honest, even as someone who's been using this software for years, I'm sure I probably only use about 5% of it. And yet that's kind of amazing for me as well. So I really want to explore that. You know, the content on my channel that has done really well is OBS Studio related. I have one video about using the power, the slideshow functionality in OBS Studio, and it's had over 10,000 views. And it's funny, I was I was talking to Sade during the week about this, and you know, he sort of joked that you know, the video that you just sort of throw together is the one that will become really popular. And like I sort of listened to the first couple of seconds of that video because I wanted to reshare it again, and like the audio is not great, and I think some of the software I was using at the time to edit that video it doesn't do a good job of that sort of stuff. So there is a part of me that's a little bit embarrassed by those things that are like 12 months old, because I have learned so much and I can do so much better. And I think we all kind of need to grapple with that a little bit. So Chocolate Quilts writes, I do use OBS, learning just basics so far. So far, so good. Said writes, getting comfortable with the basics is very important, and then taking the next step to the fancy stuff. Yes, Absolutely. So Saeed's channel is the Facilitator, which actually I can probably put a message in the chat that will give you a link to that one. So it's the Facilitator. So youtube.com/at the Facilitator, and Facilitator is sort of facilitator and entertainer combined. But you should be able to click on that link now in the YouTube chat if you're watching over on YouTube. All right, so I'm gonna take another sip of this coffee. So I'm really curious though, what are some of your goals? And again, they don't have to be too grand. I think in some ways it's better if they are achievable, but tell me about those in the chat. I'd love to hear about them. Okay, this is coffee and content on a Sunday morning here in Australia. I'm sipping the coffee, and I'm loving every moment of it. I'm a little addicted to coffee, if I'm being completely honest. And I did something this month that I've never done before. I actually purchased a bag of decaf coffee beans, and just in the interest of maybe having a little bit more coffee without all the caffeine. So I love it, but it is what it is. Okay. Chocolate Quilts actually says that that's a really cool name, by the way, Saeed. Jerry writes, I've used StreamYard for live streaming and recording and would love to learn more on OBS. Sure, absolutely. StreamYard, this is one of those oddly triggering topics for me because StreamYard was such a wonderful company and they had a really great product and they were purchased by another company that have just raised the prices, and it's really, really unfortunate. And it looks like they've cut some of their staff as well. So even the ability to get support seems to have diminished over there. It's quite upsetting. And I know a lot of people are sort of looking at other options, and I certainly don't blame you for that. Sam and I used StreamYard for a really long time, and at that point in time, StreamYard, the company, actually gifted that account to Sam. And it was really like it's such a good piece of software, or it was such a good piece of software. It was kind of one of our major recommendations for most people. But Sam and I, sort of being a little bit nerdy and control freaks, like we wanted to do stuff in OBS anyway. So we sort of did move away from StreamYard, and we did that before the company was purchased, and it was really just so that we could do more sort of OBS type stuff. So. But I mean, yes, yeah, I mean, it's all good. There are other options. If you do want sort of more of a browser-based experience, you can certainly go to Restream. OneStream Live have similar options. There's so many options out there. In some ways, we're really blessed to have so many options, but in other ways, that can just be really overwhelming. Saeed says, I also think I should focus more on basics next year. People love those. Yes. And it's funny. I think if it's that old curse of knowledge thing. Sometimes you know so much that you tend to assume other people know as much as you do. And I think it's really important that we do get back to basics. And, you know, even just setting up your camera in OBS, even just using some of those default sources, I think it's really, really useful. And I think that's kind of some of the things I want to explore as well. Okay, so... you know, as we gear up to, you're very welcome, Jerry. As we gear up to the beginning of 2025, you know, it's probably a really good opportunity to reflect on what has worked well this year, some other things that you might want to try differently next year. I guess, you know, the thing that has been both fun and kind of frustrating for me is that and I'd been threatening to do this for years, but I only just got around to it this year, is that I started playing with DaVinci Resolve. And especially the Fusion tab, which is sort of their keyframe animation stuff. And I think that's really, really fun and really awesome. Yesterday, I was creating an intro for one of the new live stream shows, and I was playing around with all their effects and their transitions and things, and working with the chroma key. And it's really fun, but being a beginner means that I have to learn a lot of things, and sometimes you're just like yelling at the computer like, why doesn't this work? And it's so annoying, but it is what it is. And I think that's the thing, you've got to be gentle with yourself if you are learning something new, because you've never done it before. You don't know what you're doing. Sometimes those can be sort of transferable skills, but sometimes, you know, you really are learning completely from scratch. Okay, so Chocolate Quilts writes, my goal is to go live every other day and have permission from other established quilters to utilize 5 solid minutes of their content. Be popular enough that they want to showcase with me. Okay, that's a really good goal. And I'm sure there's probably a massive quilting community on YouTube. So it probably is something where you want to identify the people in that space and, you know, follow their content, comment on their content, try to build a relationship with them. Because I think sometimes we can be really tempted to just, you know, to see other people as our competition, but really they can be our collaboration as well. And I think that's honestly been some of the most meaningful things that have come out of this year for me, is that, you know, especially Saeed, and I don't think I knew Saeed before 2024. Like, I think it's only been this year that we've connected, and it feels weird to say that out loud, because he's been such an important part of the content and my life and just chatting and DMs and stuff this year. So, I mean, that in itself has been awesome. So I think it's a good idea just to see who's out there and who you can connect with. And I think that a lot of this is relationship building. And I think it can be really tempting sometimes to want to chase large numbers and look at view numbers and things like that. But really, I think it's much more meaningful to build real relationships with real people, because I think that's what's gonna be most meaningful in the long term. So I guess thank you to everybody that's joined me in the chat. I loved hearing about those goals, and I am really curious because I know we have a lot of options, and I think at this time of the year, like, by all means, grab a notebook, scribble down every thought and idea you have, but then I think maybe refine that list a little bit, because you can't do everything. You have a finite amount of time and energy, so it's really important to maybe prioritize some of those things and give yourself permission to try stuff out without necessarily being committed to it for the rest of your existence. I think that's really important, because sometimes you just need a break and you want to shake things up and you want to do things differently. Like I said, I'm such a creature of habits, and even now for this live, I'm still using the same scene collection and the Stream Deck buttons that I did for the video and live streaming show. And to be honest, that works fine for me. Like, that's great. But I am really excited to sort of build out some new things, try out some different branding, create some videos. I spent a couple of days picking music for the show's intros and outros. So that was really fun. And I think it's, you know, I say that thing about me being a creature of habit. And sometimes that can be really useful. Sometimes I can set up some really healthy routines and I can stick with them for a really, really long time. But other times I do get stuck in a rut. So if there is anything that you can shake up right now, I would encourage you to give it a go. And Saeed writes, having 5 fans who truly show up and engage is far more valuable than 1,000 subs who disappear into the void. Yes. So, I mean, that's the thing. Like, subscribers, they could be incredibly highly engaged, or they could press that button and sort of never watch your content again. It could go either way. And I think, like, especially for Sam, who's had the same channel for, I don't know, 15, 16, 17 years probably at this point, a lot of those accounts aren't in use. The ones that subscribe to him, you know, they just don't use that account. They might have lost a password. They might have created another one. Not to be too morbid, but some of those people may no longer be with us on this planet. Yeah, Chocolate Quilts, throw the question into the chat and we'll see what we can do. So, I mean, you know, I think I try not to go on and on about this, but I do think it's important that we don't get too obsessed with the numbers and the stats. And like, it was really nice of Saeed to sort of mention at the beginning of the show today that I'd reached that 650 subscriber mark. And I try not to look at the stats too often because I can get really fixated on that stuff and it just makes me miserable. So I try not to look at that, but every now and then I'll get a notification from YouTube and they'll be like, "Oh, you've reached this milestone, or you've had this many watch hours this last 28 days, or whatever the case may be." So that can be encouraging as well. Oh, okay. And again, like, if you are just listening to this, I will try to explain this. So, chocolate quilts actually spells chocolate with X's in the place of C's. And she's asking whether to keep this specialized spelling or whether to do something different. And I think the thing about this is that I don't know how many people are actually going to go to YouTube or Google and search for chocolate with this spelling. And I think you have a very specific idea about what your content is, and it is about the coziness, it's about the chocolate, it's about the quilts. So my temptation in some ways is probably to encourage you to spell it with C's. I know that might be upsetting because you have been very invested in this spelling, but I just, every time I feel like I've seen you in the chat and other people's live streams, you kind of have to explain that that's what that means. And I think there's a problem with that. I think there's a search problem with that. And in some ways, like, even the fact that we called the video and live streaming show the video and live streaming show sounds so incredibly boring and generic, and like, it feels like a weird choice. But equally, I feel like people will probably searching for those terms, and I think in some ways we need to make it more findable, because I think in a lot of ways you really want people to find you. And I think you probably want to make your YouTube name a little bit longer. I would, and just sort of explain that it's about the chocolate, it's about the quilts, it's about the coziness. And I don't know, like, I would be inclined to make the title a little bit longer if you can. I don't know what the character limit is on YouTube. And even Saeed's saying I wouldn't know how to Google it, to be honest. So, in some ways, I probably would try to make it a little bit more explicitly with the traditional spelling. So it's something to think about. Again, you can sort of you can try it out, and just maybe check in with your audience and see what they're interested in and how they feel about it. So I know in some ways, like, it can be really tempting to want to have really unique spellings, and I know because of the availability of domain names and trademarks that sometimes, we have some very weird pieces of software out there with exotic names. But I think in some ways, don't make it too hard for people to find you. So I would personally look at switching back to the chocolate with a C. But again, maybe, yeah, so I'm just fascinated by Saeed's suggestion there. But I honestly, like, don't make it too complicated. Like, try to explain exactly who you are and what you do, wherever possible. And, maybe it could be chocolate quilts. Maybe you could have the other spelling of that further in the name. I don't really know how people will relate to that. So it's probably something you need to test out a little bit. But my suggestion is probably, if you're really focused on something that people already know and understand, just try to make it easy for them to find you. And I think, like, I guess the other thing is too, getting back to that idea about community. Like, you have the chocolate, you have the quilts. If you find the chocolate people on YouTube, you find the quilting people on YouTube, and really try to reach out and build some relationships there, because I think It's a great idea. Normally at this point, I would tell you that I can't eat sugar, which I can't really eat sugar. So maybe I'm no longer the person that would do that. But there was a time in my life where I used to make chocolate truffles and handmade chocolates and things, which I can't do anymore. But I think really explaining I think chocolate quilts and really leaning on coziness and whether it's cozy or coziness. But I feel like those are probably terms people are searching for. Like they're looking for something that's comforting and really, yeah, I think that's the whole thing. So subject matter wise, chocolate and quilts, but really the feeling of that is about the comfort. Is about maybe you're in the middle of winter in America, and it really is sitting by the fire and just taking some time and chilling out. Chilling maybe not be the right word in that context if you take it too literally, but I hope you know what I mean. Oh dear. I probably should have some more music on my little sound pad if I'm going to take so many coffee breaks, but I'm not really sure what one we listened to last time, but I'm going to press this one again. Hello to Stefan, who's saying, great to watch. Have a happy new year. You too, Stefan. Thank you for being here. And, I feel like this is Chocolate Quilt's tagline is eat chocolate, stay cozy. And a part of me would be tempted to make that the name. Like, eat chocolate, stay cozy. I don't know if you want to also incorporate quilts in there somewhere as well, but yeah, I probably would encourage you to go back to a more traditional spelling. All right, so I think I'm probably going to start wrapping up now. But again, thank you so much for your company today. And I know some of you have been here almost the entire year, so I really appreciate your company and your support. And I hope you're learning things. If there are things that you want to know about, I can't guarantee I can answer everything, but let me know and I'll certainly attempt to work it out or find out. And I hope that if you haven't already, subscribe to the Learn Live Streaming newsletter. Well, I mean, you could do that as well, but the YouTube channel is what I meant to say. So, you can do that as well. Stay tuned. Those new shows, Learn Live Streaming Live and OBS Obsessed, will be happening very, very shortly. And in fact, I'm probably going to go and start working on some more resources for those once I finish my coffee. But have a great day. Have a great week. Happy New Year to you all. Hope you had have a good holiday season if you are sort of chilling out. And, just look after yourself at this time of year, because I know the weather extremes are pretty intense in different parts of the world. So take care. Thank you, Jerry, for your lovely comments as well. He writes, thank you, John, for sharing your insights. And it's really great to hear your honesty on how to improve. Have a great time, everybody. I will talk to you again very, very soon, and take care.